schools, are they supposed to operate a boarding school? If no, and they are doing that, then maybe this is where the appropriate authorities should come and really hit them with their hammer. But if it is, then I know that when they are coming with all these approval to get approval on this, on that, license on this, on that, there are inspections. There are things that are put in place. The question is, were all those things considered? Now, if they are considered, now if you have to, because a lot of people still get this wrong. Yes, as parents, you have every responsibility. You see, God has given you, your child, to be the caretaker first before anything. The teacher, you don't push your responsibility to the teacher. You have a responsibility as a parent first. So when you then you delegate such a responsibility to the teachers, there's trouble, because some of them is about work, is about making money and all that, so they don't even care what is happening. They don't even have relationship with their children, so they don't even know what is happening, so they push the responsibility to the teacher. Because some are saying, some of the school of thought, they are saying, yes, the school should, yes, the school, for me, I'm still going to come to what I really desire that should happen to the school. But that is not the first thing. Let's still address this issue of these children are being entrusted into your hands as a school. It bestowed upon you to make sure that the safety of every child is taken with priority and not just overlook and think, okay, yeah, they are students. Yes, it is their time.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Or in fact, there are some reports that comes to some principal. I'm going to give you an instance. In my daughter's school, there was an instance of a girl being rude to a teacher.
Okay.
Now, in fact, not just the teacher, I think the VP, one of the DVP, whatever of the school. And why? Because the child, this girl was writing notes.
Okay.
Now, while she was writing notes, the teacher came and was telling everybody to move, to leave the class. The girl did not leave. The girl kept writing. So the teacher took the girl to the main principal office. And they were about to punish this child. Now, this child had to speak. She said, our boss, meaning in that school, she is the PA to one senior. Now, she writes notes for that senior. Why she doesn't write her own notes? She does not attend classes. Why? Because they had to write notes for that senior. That senior takes provisions from her. And she has to do that. When the principal heard, they had to call, because they were about punishing the child when, the girl, before that truth was revealed. And by the time they called the senior, all that were revealed. So now this is a school where all of you were sent to school to learn. Now, it's the same place. You now have a PA. You are the boss. You have a PA in school. Now the PA now work at the detriment of our own studies. Then the parents are saying, why is your grade like this? Why is this? They don't know what she's going through. So if that had not happened, they would not have known. Now the question now is, going to do well, this boy was in the dormitory, right? And from what I understand, they will have a master, whatever, house masters and all that.
Whose name was said to be Mr.
And
Ahmed.
from the allegation, we also heard that this boy was locked up in is a wardrobe or cupboard somewhere for 2 days. Now, if there's a house master, you have not seen this boy in 2 days. It's supposed to be a brother. And you have not seen him in 2 days. Nobody has asked questions. Now, in his class,
his teacher,
he has not attended class for 2 days.
And wasn't also looking for.
So, all these things, we need to ask questions. Because for me, this is not acceptable. And this is just one school. There are a lot of schools that all those people, they just care about money. The school is just about money. They're paying social amount. So, in fact, in our time, the teacher dare not tell you that they will report you to your parents. You will shrink because you will be so scared that I want to report you to your parents. But now, what we see now is the reverse. Now, the child,
reports
the pupil, will even threaten the teacher that I will report you to my parent. Now, the teacher is scared because what we see today, parents, don't let me use that word. That parent will now go with the child to the school and threaten the teacher, threaten the school, and threaten even the principal. Now, because they don't want to lose money, in fact, they will even tell the teacher to apologize to the child and apologize to the parent. And I ask, at what point did we begin? Don't forget that we always talk about moral and the values and all that, and that is what has brought us to this place.
Let me come to Dr. Nimi. Dr. Nimi, you also have a child in a boarding school. They have policies like visiting day, they have call day, phone call day, they have, your child cannot have direct access to you at any point in time because they have policies in the school that stops that child from having access, direct access, communication, constant communication with the parents. Do you think, first of all, that the parent or that the school, the provision of the school suffices as the parent in that instance? In a case where your child does not have access to you, the system of the school provides somebody who's supposed to take care of your child during that period when your child does not have access to you. Does that provision suffice?
Thank you very much. First of all, I will say that just to corroborate what the first speaker said, it's a traumatizing case we have at hand, and I have not been able to sleep well. It's been terrible. I don't even, it's so bad that I can't watch anything about that. I just want to see a happy boy, a boy that was in school, a jolly, happy fellow. So I have the pictures of him in school with his box, his luggage, everything. I can't even watch any of the clip where that boy was in pain. I tried.
And you are a doctor, Dr. Nimi, you are a doctor.
It goes beyond, and that's the truth. People, I separate this, my profession and myself and my real self and my personality. I'm a human being. I cannot see a child go through trauma. I cannot see a child go through pain. For what? The child is a human, an innocent child, go through that. I can't. And I tell them, don't send me the videos. And that's why I also say that these children should be protected. Back to your question, my child actually is a day student, and that's the choice we made as parents, just to watch him. We intend that he goes to the boarding house when he's a bit more mature. He's 11, he's mature, but because of, I work with children, and because of what I see, I talked to my husband, and we decided that he goes from the house for now, So back to what you said, I think it's illogical for you to restrict communication between the child and the parents. Now, going by what happened, you can see that the boy was kept for so long. They didn't tell them. They didn't have a sick bay. They kept that boy in a... I can't even wrap my head around keeping a child in a cupboard. And nobody knew. Nobody called, even his friends, because the friends have been bullied to keep quiet. So everybody kept quiet. And and then I'll also talk about the parents later. If the parents had a free flow of communication with that child, they would have known that he was not in class. You see, so when they put up illogical laws and rules, they should know that they don't even have the wherewithal to back it up. They don't even have the wherewithal to support it. You don't take care of the children. All of them are nonchalant, and you don't want the parents to keep tab on their children. So where is the support? Where are you? How are they checking on the children? So I think it doesn't make sense to restrict that communication. I think, first of all, like he said, that they don't have the facilities, or they don't have the wherewithal to run the boarding house. I don't think so. I think it's just carelessness, the nonchalant attitude of the average Nigerian. They're just there to make money. It's all about the money for them. you'll be amazed at the structures they have in place, and that's why it was approved in the first place. You'll be amazed that they have everything.
Let me also point out something. Another baffles me is the fact that we even have schools in this country, Olayinka, where the children go to school and they don't return until the end of the term. I mean, the parents have maybe one visiting day during the midterm, and then the children don't come home at all.
That is not enough. It is not enough.
How can your child go to a school and then go for the entire term and your child doesn't come at all until the end?
You're not allowed to see your child. You don't even communicate.
Are they in prison?
I mean, there's a way you will call your child and you find out that there's something wrong if you're close to that child. The child may not say, but you just hear that thing. That's silent. You hear the voice in the silence, and you don't give the child, you don't have that access to your child. You don't know what is happening. If the parents were even able to speak to that child, I don't think they would have sent someone to go pick that child up, because I think that's where everything was even flawed. If the child, if the parents had
Nimi, hold that thought a bit before Olayinka comments on this. Another girl came on social media and wrote a name, Jamaka something, and she demanded for an apology from her school, Olasore International School. She said she was assaulted and raped by almost 13 boys a couple of years ago. Now, it took 3 days for the school. That night, she was in the principal's lodge with his wife, where they quickly took care of her, called the matron in the school to take care of her. The matron confirmed to them that there was vaginal trauma. Now, she kept saying, call my daddy, call my mommy, call my daddy, call my mommy. The elder sister was also in the school. So the elder sister was also saying, call. They didn't make the call. So the first day, the children were expecting their parents to call them, or, Second day, they were expecting them. So the third day, the elder sister was lucky to have another parent who just maybe suddenly came to the school. So they took the phone, she borrowed the phone of that parent to call the 3 people she could call: her mom, her dad, and her aunt. Their parents were in Lagos. The aunt was in Ibadan. She felt like her aunt is closer to her, and so she quickly did what? Contacted the aunt who was in Ibadan. So before the parents could even get to Ilesha, her aunt had gotten to them first. Took the girl to the hospital. And it was then the parents confirmed that the school never contacted them after their daughter was violated by multiple boys in school. She is accusing the school on social media. Allegedly, she was assaulted and that the school covered it up, and that she was even punished for even saying that she was molested. Now, this is the case. Something happens to somebody's child. You have a sick bay where the child can be treated. This is beyond what your sick bay can treat. Do they even have the facilities in the sick bay? Olayinka, let me go to your child's school. What does the sick bay look like?
Why can't they run a clinic? Why can't they have a clinic with a doctor? You don't just keep a sick bay with first aid boxes in a school that the parents pay so much. Most of these parents are comfortable parents. They're not just parents that, they've decided to be patriotic and leave their children in Nigeria to be taken care of. And I'm not talking about socioeconomic class here, but I'm just talking about the things that these money conscious proprietors and proprietresses should know, and they have decided not to do it. Why should you have a first aid box with just paracetamol and all that as the first line of care for the children when their parents face? Can't you have a doctor that comes and goes, like an outpatient doctor? They can afford it. How much is it to pay for that service? But because they are greedy, all they want is money. They don't care about the children. They don't care about the children. I mean, the children can die. It doesn't matter. It's just about the school fees. And do you know what? These schools, you must pay before the term resumes. You must pay every dime before the school resumes. They don't even care about COVID. Their parents are redundant financially. They don't care. And then they throw your child like that.
Nimi, hold your thoughts there. Olayinka, your child goes to a public school.
Yes.
And it's a boarding public school.
Yes.
Do they have a sick bay?
They do. Have a sick bay. Now, the question is, do they have facilities? Do they have...
What is in the sick bay?
Thank you. Because what they have, well, I see beds. I've been there. they called us. Well, yeah, of course. I've seen there are beds there and the seat, but the problem is, once your child goes to sick bay, and say that one complain, probably I have temperature or something, and they check. Maybe they will give. I don't know whether it's paracetamol. They have nurse. They have matron. They have nurse, not just one, not two. So they check them. So when they check, then they give you whether it's paracetamol or whether it's just malaria, whatever. And once they discover that, not same day, not 24 hours, that same day, probably they give you morning and afternoon, and probably the temperature is still there. Next thing, they will call the parent.
Okay.
They call the parent. Then you have to come. They will tell you, come and pick your child.
And that is a public boarding school.
So they call the parent, then you go, you pick your child. And number of times I've told them, look, why do you call parents when it's just malaria? Why can't you, if it's not acute, if it's just stress, body temperature, why can't this child just rest here, give the child medications, and well, maybe observe the child? Even they said that when you take malaria medications, the doctor, they will say that, okay, observe 2-3 days, right? If there's no any improvement, then go to your doctor. Go to the hospital. But that is not the case. They don't even, though the argument for that may be that they don't have enough facilities to take number of students coming to sick bay, because if you have maybe more than the bed space they have at the sick bay, they may not have enough bed space for those students. Maybe that's the reason why they will call parents under 24 hours to come and pick your child. So that they do, and I have checked critically, they do not have anything at the sick bay. As far as I'm concerned, from the little that I saw, they do not have anything. And I have told them, this is a government school. What is the Ministry of Health doing about this? Who are the people that are supposed to be, who are the appropriate authorities to look into this matter? Do you want to seek the assistance of the PTA to see how they can, among the PTA, you have doctors, you have, people even in the government and people that can help, whether you want the PTA to come together with the money to buy medications. That is if
the government is not capable
of doing that.
Setting up a sick bay, a proper clinic in each of their schools.
Unfortunately, what is the healthcare system in this country? Okay. So I don't really want to.
Dr. Nimi is about to go. And just before she goes, Dr. Nimi, you are a medical doctor. What will make you comfortable in a school when they call it a sick bay? What would you be expected? What would you expect as a practitioner to see in that school?
Thank you very much for that question. I would recommend that a sick bay has, or a clinic. The school should have a clinic for people, for day students, maybe a sick bay, but for a facility with a boarding house, a school with a boarding house, I think you should go beyond a sick bay to a clinic, an outpatient clinic. And even if they can't afford to pay the doctors all the time, the doctors should come every other day. Ideally it should be every day, but every other day, or when the need arises. Maybe, it's not every day the child will be ill, so the matron can stand in. But if there's any time the child needs attention, like malaria, child is dehydrated, child has sickle cell crisis and all that, the doctor can come in and attend to that child until that child gets better or is stable enough to go home. Now, let's take the case of this boy, Sylvester. If that child was given the appropriate emergency care or primary care, that child would not have died. And I know this. I am sure of this. Even letting the child, calling the parents at that late stage, and telling the parents that the child died from playing football, what happened to history taking. If a real doctor, that doctor would have gotten the truth from the child somehow, albeit slowly, albeit subtly. The child, the truth would have been out, and we will not be crying the way we are crying now. We will not be where we are today. This child would have said something to that. In fact, when you examine the child and see that this child is in excruciating pain, you will know that there's more to this thing than just playing football. And then they call the parents nonchalantly, and the parents, of course, did not know that it was serious. And this is why I blame the parents. For any reason they call you to come and pick you should come yourself. You should come to know what has happened. You don't delegate it. This is the intentional parenting we're talking about. Now, back to your question. The clinic should have the basic things to resuscitate children. So a child has an acute asthmatic attack, there should be things to nebulize the child. There should be emergency medications, hydrocords, and everything that they need to give to the child. There should be oxygen. And
in a school clinic.
Yes,
oxygen.
No, when I mean oxygen, not the big one. There's oxygen cylinders. Yes, ambu bag. Yes, because you don't know that children can just have issues and they can't breathe well and they need to be resuscitated. They can. Some children could have. Some children are sicklers and they need a lot of things. Can have problems with their lungs and they will need to be resuscitated. People have oxygen in their oxygen cylinders at home. So why can't a school that takes up almost $1 million, even government schools? So it's not about private or this, because you have children that, what if something happens at night? What if a child takes some poisonous thing mistakenly? They are children. You should have things that will counteract the effect of the poisons, knowing fully well the common poisons that they could ingest. So you should have everything to resuscitate these children. Imagine like an ER, mini ER, a mini one. I mean, you're not going to go overboard, but this thing should be standard. You should have the injections that would, like he was talking about a child. You're calling a parent. It's okay to call a parent. Your child has malaria, but what have you done to stabilize that child? A child has sickle cell crisis. What have you given the child? Or are you going to call the parents to take that child in pain? A child needs oxygen. Have you given that child? Sometimes it's just that oxygen child needs to be fine. So there are many cases children have heart diseases, and that's why they give you form to feel, oh, this is the peculiarity of this child's health condition. This is it, so that you know what the child suffers, and it's not their fault that they suffer congenital heart disease. It's not their fault that they are sicklers. It's not their fault. You should put all that in place before you have a boarding house. So maybe going forward, our regulatory system or bodies will know what to look out for, and not just the facade of buildings, fine buildings, aesthetics. Oh, they have this, they have that, big field. The things that really matter. Now,
before they give approval to these schools.
Yes. And they pretend, when their money comes out, they pretend they could go and hire people or even borrow things just for their approval. Let them pay them spontaneous visits.
Borrow things for approval. Oh my God.
They do, yes.
They do.
Yes.
Yeah.
They do that.
Oh my.
They do that.
Oh
when
my.
people are desperate for money, they do anything. They could just keep things. They could even go and hire doctors or health workers. Let me not get specific. They could go and hire people or come and stand in. You're having an approval, and the innocent people come and they say, oh, everything is in place, and that goes. Because I do not think that any regulatory body would have approved that Dowen school, because everything there is what they call this. It's
a sham.
It's scam and sham. Scam.
And we've been talking to Dr. Nimi, who's a family physician. She's a mother as well. And when she was talking to me, she was like, "Nimi, I've been very close to this school. I think this school has Redding wrote very close to it. If that child was rescued, taken straight to Redding, rather than believing that, the groaning in that video shows you the depth of pain that child was going through.
What are we saying? See, we are talking about a school where the authorities want to change the narratives, where they started lying, where they could not even speak initially, and when they started speaking, they were lying. That's the same school that you expect the same people play football and it fell down. And you are supposed to be the one in charge of the school.